StrayAllDay.com.
You're now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day, to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. That is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques all underneath the umbrella of one unified philosophy that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is self-imposed limits that you should test. Before we get into this, I'll remind you of a couple things. First of all, my daily motivation and Monday motivation text messages, which go out every day and every week, respectively, guaranteed to have you focused, sharp, and on point to start your day and week. When those messages resume going out, they'll be going out to everyone in my text community. It is free to join that community, so you should just text me right now. My number, 305-384-6894. And once those messages commence sending again, you'll be getting a message from us letting you know that they're coming, and you'll be getting those, as I said, weekly, daily, however you choose. We'll give you options. Secondly, Work on Your Game University. That is the place where we do all of our coaching. If you'd like to be coached by me directly for your mindset, for your business strategies, for the systems that you can use to produce outcomes consistently, for the accountability to make sure everything and everyone is doing its job, and implementation of all your ideas and strategies, go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. That is the place where you can work with me directly. The only place you can work with me directly is in the university. With that out the way, let's get right into the topic again, which is self-imposed limits which you should test. So what we'll discuss today are some built-in beliefs that I have found in my experience through many conversations with many people, that a lot of people have these beliefs about how things go, both for themselves and what they assume goes for other people when it comes to things such as productivity, effectiveness, and achieving your desired outcomes. So these are things that, again, things that people have just held in their head. And some people can call these false beliefs. I'll just call them self-imposed limits. I'm going to bring up what each one is. I'm going to share some ideas and possibly some questions to help you examine whether these beliefs are actually true or not. That's how we're going to do this. My angle here today is to help you understand that many of the things that you believe are set in stone may be built on sand, which means they are easily knocked down. They may not be as real as you think they are. And subsequently, because of this challenge, because of these breaking of false beliefs, the breaking of false beliefs I'm going to do here today on your behalf, you will be empowered to take some actions that you otherwise thought maybe were not available to you, or that you simply couldn't do because of who you are, where you are, how you think, etc. All right, does that sound good? Good, let's get to it. Point number one. The topic, once again, is self-imposed limits that you should test. Number one, how fast you can move. How fast can you actually get things done? I mean this both in the short term, meaning how fast you can get something done in the next 15 minutes, and in life, how much you can achieve in the next 15 years. I mean, on both levels. Most people's default setting is to do things slowly and to do things later. And that's not the way you want to be moving in life. The problem with that is that you're eventually going to run out of time. You're going to run out of time actually pretty quickly if you're just doing things slow. Your new default is to do things fast and to do it now. I talked about this in episode number 2738. Your new defaults being fast and now, and also talked about the different versions of speed in episode number 2778. Tactical speed, strategic speed, and wholesale speed. The reason that people like to do things slowly is because when we do things slowly, we can be completely in control, and we never feel like things are out of hand. We never feel like things are moving too fast. If we move slow, then, and again, slow is relative. So my version of slow and your version of slow may be completely different, but it feels slow to me, and your slow feels slow to you. And when we do things slowly, it makes us feel comfortable because, or it allows us to feel comfortable because everything is under control. All right, nothing's out of control when we're doing things slow. Usually, if we're doing things, if we ever feel like things are out of control or getting out of control, it's usually because we're doing things faster than what we are used to doing, faster than what we are comfortable doing. And that's when things start to get out of hand mentally for us. We feel like things are out of hand, but they may not actually be, because how we feel and what's actually true are often not the same thing. So the reason people do things slow, as I said, is because it allows us to feel things are in our control. Nothing's out of hand. Nothing's moving, quote unquote, too fast, which is, again, another relative term. Because too fast, just like too slow, is different for me than what it is for you and for the next person. So let's look at this in a more logical way. That is a logical way, but let's look at it even deeper in a logical way. Being that our time in life is limited. Everybody agrees with that, right? We may disagree on what fast means and what slow means, because I could tell you to do something and you're doing it and I say you're doing it too slow and you say, well, I feel like I'm going too fast. We can both be right because we both have different baselines for what speed is. But we can both agree, even if we disagree on that, we can agree that eventually my time will run out in this life and we can agree that your time will eventually run out. What we don't know is when each of our times will run out, but we do agree that they will run out, right? That part we agree with. So, understanding this, if you were to move faster, meaning executing faster, making decisions faster, getting to outcomes faster, getting rid of things that need to be gotten rid of faster, doing things that you know you need to do faster. Again, this could be in the short term, like today, or the long term, like the next 5 years. If you just did things faster, we agree that that means we can get to more things. We can actually do more. We can get more stuff done in our lives if we just move faster. Do you agree with that? And because we get to more things, that means we get more things actually accomplished. Because the more things you do, the more things you complete. Do you agree with that? And that means you can achieve more in the limited time in which you do have to live. Is there anybody who disagrees with this logic tree that I just drew for you here? Everybody agrees with that, right? So we can get more accomplished and more life lived if we were to just do things faster. Instead of doing things at our normal, comfortable pace, and for most of us, the normal, comfortable pace is slow. It's not doing things nearly as fast as we could be. So when I say slow here, I don't mean my version of slow compared to yours. I mean slow compared to how fast you could go. Meaning you could move faster if you were consciously thinking about it. You have just gotten into a habit. Napoleon Hill calls this cosmic habit force. You got into the cosmic habit force of moving at a certain pace that is comfortable for you. But I want everyone here to understand that what's comfortable for you is not necessarily the best that you can do. That's a good one right there. I got to write that one down. All right, see, this is the reason why I do this show. Sometimes I say stuff that even surprises me. What's comfortable for you is not necessarily the best that you can do. I'm actually writing that down. Let me write that down right now. And I keep a place to write this stuff down, just in case I say something that I can build on later. And I will build on that. So you'll hear or see that again if you're listening to this right now. So let me make sure I get it all written down before I talk to you. Okay, got that written down. Now, we all are familiar with the concept. At least you've heard of the concept of the comfort zone. Maybe you don't know what it means, but you've heard of it. Comfort zone is the zone in which you are comfortable thinking, acting, speaking, existing, behaving. Now, the things that you are used to doing, they don't disturb you in any way because they're just normal for you. So if you're a person who goes to the gym every day, going to the gym is your comfort zone. If you're a person who spends an hour a day checking email, then checking email for an hour a day is your comfort zone. If someone wants to have you not check your email at all day, or you only get 5 minutes to go through all your email, you can't touch it again the rest of the day, you would feel a little bit disturbed because it's outside of your comfort zone. Or if you were told you can't go to the gym for a whole week, you'll feel a little bit out of your element because it's out of your comfort zone. I'm not saying it is necessarily good. I'm just saying if we took you out of your normal routine of habits, then you feel a little bit uncomfortable. The comfort zone are the things you're used to doing, and getting out of the comfort zone means doing things that you are not used to doing or not doing things that you are used to doing. Everybody follow me? So if your default setting is whatever pace, think about the normal pace that you normally move throughout your life. About your life, everyone has a normal pace. All right, we were to take that pace and I was to double it. I said, just do everything twice as fast as how you're doing it right now. It would feel very uncomfortable for you. You might feel okay for a moment or two, but for the most part, if you had to do that all day, you would feel uncomfortable. You'll probably not do it. It would just be very uncomfortable. But we all understand through the concept of eustress, and there's another type of stress. I was talking to this guy who's a biohacker, and he mentioned a different type of stress as the same as eustress. Eustress is EUSTRESS. It's a real thing. Eustress is the kind of stress that we put ourselves under on purpose, and we know that it's going to make us better. So, for example, lifting weights that are a little bit heavier than what you're used to lifting is a form of eustress. You know it's going to be stressful. You know it's going to be hard, but you do it on purpose because you believe it's going to make you better in the long run. That's a good kind of stress. We want to put ourselves under that stress. Why? Because we know it's going to make us better. The challenge is actually getting ourselves to do it and then sticking to it, even though we know what the discomfort is going to feel like. And since everyone who listens to a show like this one, you are looking to achieve more and get more out of your life and perform at a higher level and produce more results, understand by deductive reasoning then, you have to put yourself under this stress, or at least allow yourself to be put under this stress. Even if you don't do it to yourself, you have to allow it to happen. Same way if you want to get better physically, you might allow yourself to be put under stress by a personal trainer because you know it's going to help you get better. All right. And if that's your goal, then either you got to do it or you got to allow somebody else to do it to you, but it has to happen one way or another. Everybody agree with this? Okay. So if you want to achieve more in a limited time that you do have in life, and again, if you're listening to a show like this, I'm assuming you're that type of person, wouldn't moving faster help you do that? Even if it meant it was a little bit uncomfortable, even if it meant you felt a little bit out of control, even if it meant you felt a little bit overwhelmed or maybe a lot overwhelmed and out of control, wouldn't it help you though, even though it's uncomfortable, even though you feel overwhelmed, even though you feel out of control? Don't you agree that those feelings, which are uncomfortable, would actually help you? Do you agree? Okay. So why not do it, or at least try it? That's a rhetorical question. It requires no answer. See, there's more than one way in life to move faster. I mentioned this a second ago, and I'm not going to go deep in this. As I told you, the 3 levels of speed episode is episode number 2778. So go listen to that. So you have tactical speed. That's meaning just doing something faster than you normally do it. So if it takes you 2 minutes to load the dishwasher, try to do it in 45 seconds. This can help you find a considerable amount of time on a day-by-day, moment-by-moment basis, ultimately maybe a few hours of your day. And those combine into weeks, months, and years, and they can add up to other things. So tactical speed is the easiest, lowest hanging fruit when it comes to speed. And the simplest way to start using tactical speed is put time limits on everything that you do. So stop giving yourself whatever amount it takes time to get things done, and tell yourself, I got 20 minutes to do this, 30 minutes to do that, 5 minutes to do that, and you'll find yourself getting things done. But you must respect the time that you're giving yourself. And the whole saying goes, what gets measured gets done. So if you start putting time limits on yourself, you will get more things done. Other form of speed is strategic speed, which means making changes to the overall process and structure of what you're doing rather than just doing the same things at a faster pace. So for example, if you want to make $10,000 this week, it's easier if you just had a $10,000 offer that you were selling and try to find one person to buy it rather than selling something that costs $10 and trying to find 1,000 people to buy it. Everybody understand the math there, right? 10,000 times 1 is 10,000, and 10 times 1,000 is 10,000. You still end up with $10,000 either way, but it's much easier to get one customer at $10,000 a pop than it is to get 1,000 customers at $10 a pop. So that's strategic speed. So strategically, if you want to achieve more of an outcome, you want to think about what is the path that I can take that can help me get to the same outcome, but get to a lot faster and with a lot less effort. Usually less effort usually means faster at the same time. So this is a change in strategy. And again, bottom line of this first point is you need to test your speed limits. When I say test your speed limits, how fast can you actually go without breaking? The challenge with this is many people simply won't do it because you're already picturing the discomfort in your own head. And that's your intelligence of picturing how uncomfortable it's going to be, stopping you from doing something that would actually help you. And so sometimes human beings, sometimes we are just too damn smart for our own good. This is an example of it. Sometimes you're just too smart. And your intelligence is keeping you from getting to what you want to get to. And you've heard the saying, working smarter and not harder, or when to be right versus when to be smart. All right, you have to understand that sometimes being smart can make you stupid. I talked about this back in episode 85. Let's move on to point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is self-imposed limits that you should test. Number 2, how much you can have going on at one time. How many things can you juggle at once? And it's not even necessarily juggling, honestly. This is especially important for those of you who are entrepreneurs, whether full-time or you have some type of side hustle going on. As many entrepreneurs want to, or they tend to, run their businesses with the mindset of an employee. And let me explain what I mean by this, because there are 2 different mindsets that you need to be successful in each. Employees can do things one at a time for the most part because that's all they are asked to do. An employee is asked to do one thing at a time, and maybe there are some employees out there, actually I know many, who wear many hats in their jobs, the places that they work. They may work in a very high-paced, dynamic workplace where they're asked to do multiple things, but they usually can do one task at a time. And there's a finite number of things that they are asked to deal with. You have a specific job, it requires a specific set of tasks, and you are reasonably expected to get them done one at a time each day that you're at work. That's generally how it goes when you're an employee. Like, there are some exceptions, but generally that's how it goes. In entrepreneurship, however, you do not have the luxury of doing things one at a time. You just don't have that luxury. And you definitely don't have the luxury of doing things at a calm, steady pace. Now, you might think you have that luxury, but if you are operating as if you have that luxury, you are doing a disservice to your business because you're not moving fast enough. You're moving too slow, which is why your success is coming much more slowly than it should be coming. And this is something that any entrepreneur, I don't care how fast you call yourself moving, you could always test your speed limits. As I said at the end of point number one, let's see, can we get this done even faster? Instead of just taking a month, can we get it done in 2 weeks? Instead of just taking a day, can we do it in a couple hours? So you have many things, entrepreneur, that need to be done, and they all need to be done now. How many entrepreneurs listen to this have a bunch of things that need to be done now, but you definitely don't have enough hands and brains to do them all at once? All right, all of you are nodding your heads and raising your hands. So if y'all got a bunch of stuff that we need to get done, I got a list of like 30 things that need to be done. I can't do them all at the same time. And I'm recording right now, so I'm not, at this exact moment, I'm not doing any of them, at least not myself. Now, I'm not saying you're going to become an octopus and grow multiple arms. That's humanly, scientifically impossible as of today. What I'm saying is that you can have many different projects going at once so that you can see what's working, what's not, make your adjustments along the way. Remember, entrepreneur, that you cannot and should not be trying to do everything yourself, because first of all, you don't have the skill, you don't have the time, secondly, and third, you don't have the talent. All right, the skill and talent, we can kind of conflate those. You don't have the ability, you don't have the energy, and you don't have the time resource to do everything on your own. So there are many things that entrepreneurs, when we start our businesses, we are doing that we are not super effective or efficient at. And as we mature in our business, we want to offload those tasks to people other than ourselves. You, entrepreneur, do not have the luxury of time, steadiness, or everything feeling under control all the time. You don't have that luxury. Things don't have to be under control. You actually want things to not be under control. I like when I have a whole bunch of different things going all at the same time in my business. And whenever they're not, probably because there's some things that I'm not doing that I probably should have going. Not even, when I say doing, I don't necessarily mean me personally doing it. I just mean having it going somewhere under the umbrella of my business. That's what I mean when I say having things going. So it doesn't mean you had to do them all yourself, and you shouldn't, because again, you are not skilled enough to do everything at a high level or even in a competent level. Entrepreneur, you are super competent at a few things. Those are the things you should be doing. So as an entrepreneur, you do not occupy the same space as an employee who has a specific set of jobs and they just do those and nothing else is their responsibility. Entrepreneur, everything's your responsibility. It's all your job. So if you're looking to solve a problem, for example, and you have 10 different ways that you could possibly solve the problem, don't try one idea at a time. Try all 10 at the same time. First person I heard say something along these lines was Dan Kennedy, who I talked about in the episode on the phenomenon. Try all 10 ideas at the same time so you can theoretically get to the outcome 10 times faster, because you might need to try all 10 to find what works. Many people balk at this process as well. They don't want to do this because you have this baked in belief of you have to do one thing at a time. Now, when we're talking you personally and what you're doing, yes, one thing at a time. So for example, right now I'm recording this show and I'm focused on what I'm saying to you and looking at the camera. This is one thing at a time. So I don't want to be checking my email or responding to text messages or eating lunch while I'm doing this one thing. But I can have multiple operations running in my business. So I can have my assistant is working on something. I can have this freelancer over here working on something. I can have this team over here working on some other things. I don't have to do it myself, but I want to have those things working so we can find what works or do more of what works. So that's what I mean when I say this baked in belief of one thing at a time. Humanly, as a person, one thing, but as a business, multiple things. Number 3, today's topic, once again, is the self-imposed limits that you should be questioning and challenging. Number 3, what has to happen in order for the next thing to happen? This is a really important one for those of you who want to make big leaps in your business. You want to make big leaps forward in your business, you really should challenge if you really need to follow a certain sequential order to get to an outcome. This concept is what I talked about when I talked about ladder climbing in episode number 2672. Climbing ladders is the concept that you have to do A, B, C, D before you get to E. I'm saying that instead, maybe you can jump straight from A to E and skip over B, C, and D. Is it possible? Now, you may not believe it's probable right now because in your head, you've always believed you could do that. I'm just asking you to flirt with the idea that it is possible. And if it was possible, how would you do it? I just want you to ask yourself the question. That's all I'm asking you to do. Just ask yourself the question. See what happens if you tried going straight from A to E while just foregoing and outright skipping the previous steps. What if you just skipped all those other steps? What would happen? This could be a huge shift in the trajectory of your success if you'll be willing to try it, especially if and when you find out that it works. What if it works? Then what? That changes everything, doesn't it? That changes a whole lot. That would change a whole lot in your life, let alone in your business, if you realize that you didn't have to climb the ladder and take every single step. You could just jump straight to the step that you want to be at anyway, instead of doing all those other things first. What if you could just do that? People do this in school sometimes in education. Not everybody does it, but there are some kids who, I say there's some whiz kid who's really good at passing tests. They graduate the 8th grade, they get the 9th grade, and they're doing so good that they go take the exit exam for high school and they pass it as a 9th grader, so they can skip 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, and they go straight to college. Or they're 14 years old taking college courses because they skipped the steps of going through all 4 years and they just went straight to university. And they're probably university, you can do this as well. The whole point, I'm just using that as a rough example, but you can skip steps. And oftentimes the people who create breakthroughs and people who become wildly successful in things are people who skip steps. They're not the people who just get better than everybody else at following the process. They just skip the steps and they get to the end faster than everyone else. They just race to the end instead of going through all the steps like everybody else. It's like the tortoise versus the hare. I remember that fairy tale, the tortoise and the hare. And the end of that fairy tale says that the turtle ends up winning the race, which is bullshit. Turtles have never beaten rabbits in a race ever in life. That's never happened. And the rabbit will always win the race. It wouldn't even be a race. Nobody would even show up to watch that because nobody's going to sit around and wait for the tortoise to cross the finish line. It's too slow. Tony Robbins gives an example of this. When he first got into the speaking business, he was taking a course. I don't remember exactly what the course was, but he was in a class with people who wanted to learn how to be coaches. And he went to the first lesson and there was a break in between, during the class. And he and all his classmates were, they're all excited with this new information that they learned. And Tony was like, I want to go coach somebody right now. But his classmates were saying to him, well, you can't do that because you got to take all these courses, then you got to take the next course and the next course, and then you got to pass an exam, and then you got to do some type of apprenticeship for a few months, and then you can go coach people. And Tony said, I don't want to do that. I want to skip all the steps and just go straight to helping people. And that's exactly what he did. And now Tony Robbins is Tony Robbins. I'm not saying that's why he became who he is. I'm saying that is why he became who he is. All right. So when he took that class, his classmates, again, they were telling him, follow the process, go get some certification, and basically climb the ladder. All right. And by the way, I mentioned this in the episode on ladder climbing. You'll need a certification. I know there's some of you listening to this who have certifications. There are certain industries where you must have a certification in order to do the job. For example, doctors, lawyers, airplane pilots, y'all have to have certifications. But things like what I do, like coaching, professional speaking, book writing, I don't know if there's even a thing for that, or even personal training. You don't have to have a certification in order to go get a client and make money and help people. Now, you do need to know what you're doing, but a certification does not necessarily reflect you know what you're doing. It just reflects that you passed the exam to get the certification. That's literally what a certification means. All right. No disrespect to anybody who has a certification, but that's what it means. It means you pass the exam to get the certification. It does not necessarily mean that you're good at what you do. It just means you pass the test. It's just like there are people who went to school and they have degrees and diplomas and they're still relatively stupid and low intelligence. Just because you have the degree does not mean that you're smart. So the same thing when it comes to certification. It doesn't mean that you're dumb because you have a certification, but it also doesn't mean that you're not. Right? Everybody get what I'm saying? So as I said, Tony Robbins, he decided he would go against the grain, do things his way, and I think we can agree that it worked. Only thing between him and everybody else in that class is that he was willing to go against the grain where everybody else said, I'm not going to go against the grain, I'm going to follow the rules. There's a hint in that. Should I say that sentence again, just in case you didn't catch it? Only difference between him and everybody else in that class is Tony said, I'm not going to follow the rules, and everybody else said, I am going to follow the rules. And he's the one whose name we know. It's the same thing that I'm telling you. If you want to, for example, let's say you want to sell a high ticket offering. You want to sell some type of coaching or consulting or a mastermind or a workshop or a 6-day retreat in Hawaii or whatever it is that you want to sell. You don't necessarily have to offer some free lead magnet and then sell people a $15 book and then sell them a $100 course and then sell them a $3,000 coaching program and then nurture them for a year or two and then offer them your $10,000 thing 2 years from now. You could just offer the $10,000 thing right now. I ain't saying it's going to sell, but I'm saying if you wanted to offer it, you could. There's nothing stopping you. What's stopping you? And is there somebody out there who's ready to pay for a $10,000 retreat to Hawaii right now? Probably. But guess what? They can't pay you because you ain't made the offer. Everybody follow what I'm saying here? And see, here's where the discomfort comes in. Here's where the anxiety comes in. When I just said that, Some of you who to whom this applies, you just felt a little bit of anxiety because you're like, damn, what if I actually put that out there? Who am I to put that out there? Who am I to make this offer? Who am I to ask for that much money when I haven't done all these other things and followed these other steps? That is the programming that has been given to you over the course of your life. And it's the exact thing that I'm telling you to challenge here in today's episode. That's the exact reason why I recorded this. Because of that right there. You don't have to follow all the steps. You can start right there at the top. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a mindset challenge. This is not a skill challenge. Nothing's stopping you from putting something up on your website and putting a price on it and putting it out and telling people you got it. No matter if nobody buys it, can you just get over the hump of doing it is the question. This is a mindset challenge. Many people don't believe in themselves enough, or they are too worried about what everybody else is going to think or say to ever even try this. That's the problem. And even if nobody sells it, even if nobody buys it, rather, you putting it out there and selling it is maybe a confidence exercise for you, just to know that you can do it. So then the next thing that you sell, you have a little bit more confidence, and then a little bit more, and a little bit more. And then what if somebody actually buys it? Well, that changes the whole game for you, doesn't it? Now, with all that out the way, let's recap today's class, which is self-imposed limits that you have in your mind that you should test, that you might not even know they're there. Number one, how fast can you move, both in the moment and in life? On a day-to-day basis, can you move faster? And in life, can you get things done faster? And the answer to that is yes. The key is you need to test your speed limits. Number two, how much can you have going at one time? This doesn't mean you personally doing everything yourself, but having things going in your life on your behalf. Don't necessarily have to be done by you, but you don't have to do things one at a time, because doing things one at a time is simply too slow. You don't have enough time in life to do things one at a time. You're going to run out of time. Number three, what has to happen in order for another thing to happen? In other words, you don't have to climb the ladder. You can take the elevator. Sometimes you don't have to walk up the steps every single step. You can just skip steps, take the elevator, and get all the way to the top a lot faster than everybody else. The biggest challenge with this is the mindset that has been ingrained in you. You have to do what everybody else does. No, you don't, and it's actually a bad idea. The worst way to achieve success is to follow the crowd. All that said, folks, text me so you're in my community. My number's down below in the description. Work on your game university. If you want to be coached on strategically, mentally, and implementation-wise doing these things that I'm talking about here, go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. I got you covered. Work on your game. Dre, all